Now, in the standard, there's a quick review. In the Golden Dawn system, you have 4 main elements. There's really a 5th one, but it only pops up in 1 card. And that would be the Universe card or the Aeon card in the Thoth deck. And that has not only fire in it, but also spirit, which is the quintessential, means 5th essential element. And in all right-hand spiritualities and religions, it's the most important. So, fire, water, air, earth. This is the order that they established. And basically, the systems that I talk about is you have family relationships, which is 3 of the kind. You have ally relationships, neutral relationships, and contrary relationships, okay? So family is when you've got 2 cards of the same element. So here we go. We've got the 3 of Wands, virtue, and we have the Queen of Wands. They're family, okay? So now let's say we've got an air card with the 2 of Swords, and then you have the 7 of Wands. They're allies, okay? So the relationships of friendliness, by the way, let's get these cards out here. Fire cards are family with fire, ally with air, neutral with earth, and contrary with water. So air is family with air, ally with fire, neutral with water, and contrary to earth. Paul Hughes Barlow makes way too many friends, and the problem is that doesn't allow for much subtlety. And when you're going for fortune cookie insight, you need subtlety. You need to have these subtle twists and plays. So we don't want to get rid of that. So water is a family with itself, ally with earth, neutral to air, and contrary to fire. And lastly, earth is family with itself. It is ally with water. It is neutral to fire. And it is contrary to air. The Thoth cards are very beautiful because they have the Rosicrucian cross. And you can look at the cross. So the contraries are right opposite of each other. So fire and water are contraries, and air and earth are contraries. And then if you do the diagonal slants down to the right, they're neutrals. So fire and earth are neutral, air and water are neutral. And if they slant to down to the left, air and fire, water and earth, they're ally. And obviously they're family with themselves. So sometimes that's one of the nice things about the Thoth deck is the back card is a cheat. And to be honest, when you're starting out, you want all the cheats you can get. The trump cards can be a little tricky because you have to sort of learn or have a cheat sheet handy, and I'd suggest start with the cheat sheet, and then after a while familiarization will do its trick. And then you get to learn the elements. And then, of course, it's an ongoing thing. I used to say the fortune card was fire, but I've later learned that through my astrology buddies that Jupiter is actually an air. So I've moved Jupiter fortune to an air card, and it's actually had a lot of good benefits. And because I came across that in a tarot book, and I started asking some of the astrology friends, and they got very kind, and they didn't want to insult anyone and say that that was wrong, but basically Jupiter's air. So anyway, you will find, and therefore fortune, which represents Jupiter, is air. But, you know, if you play it with fire and it's in your own mind, then that's going to be alright. But I looked at the distribution of elements, and giving fire 1 less in the trumps and air 1 more in the trumps actually help balance it out more, and so it's not a bad way to go. At any rate, so let's go ahead and let's just pull a random so I can kind of show you how this goes. I won't try to orchestrate anything. So here we go. Okay, here what we've got is there's only a certain amount of relationships you can have. So the first one we talked about in the other video was three of a kind, if you will, where they're all family. So you got three of a kind family. They're strong and either receptive if they're water and earth, or active if they're fire and air. So here we've got water as the significator, water as a flank, and fire as a flank. So these two, what happens is this. This card gains strength from this card because they're family. But then this card, fire and water, don't mix, and so it fries it. So it gains strength from this one, but then loses strength from this one. And the net result is it shrinks down to just being strong. It gets power from this one. But this one, the flank card takes the hit. And this is where you'd usually reverse it, but I don't like reverse. That actually didn't happen to the Rider Waite. They just did elemental dignities. So it comes down here into the contrary pile, or the weak, and this one does too, because all this water flattens it out. So we've got a strong significator and weak, weak, or reversed. These are reversed or blocked. There's a wonderful book on the complete book of tarot reversals, and I suggest that you look into that book. It is a really great book, and yeah, it's by the author of Tarot for Yourself, and it's just a great, great book. So it talks about many different options that you have for tarot reversals. And so again, Tarot for Yourself. And right now I'm blanking on the author, and someone can put it in commentaries, or I'll put it in the introduction for this. I'm going to move my legs just for the moment so you can see this better. So we have this relationship. Now, getting a little ahead of ourselves, usually when I see this in a fortune cookie setup, what this means is by tapping into this energy, these cards become unreversed, unglued, because they're usually blocked energies, and they move up. So in this case, what we have here is the Knight of Swords is about emotional maturity when it's strong. So what's going on here is by having emotional maturity, you're able to have fresh experiences. This is about second chances usually, in intuitive, emotional relationships. So probably let's go with relationships. We usually like the highbrow, high altitude, psychic stuff, but reality is day-to-day relationships for fortune cookie stuff is usually much more applicable. So we want to aim at that, and also because the very mundane things that we usually rule out are actually more important than these high altitude issues. If you're more stable and constant in your basic life, you're a much more spiritual person. So emotional maturity unlocks, brings forth being able to have fresh experiences in relationships, or a fresh experience in your relationships. So it's almost like, because this is about new relationships, it's almost like it's like a second new relationship, if you will. You see how they're really double emphasizing? And this is Teresa Michelson talks about this. Sometimes the deck will double a card, meaning because you've already used a card, but it wants to say the same thing again. And so basically what happens is it takes two cards and says the same stuff. So it's really trying to say, if you're emotionally mature, in this case, as our hypothetical person or hypothetical me, if I'm emotionally mature today, I'm going to have fresh experiences that are going to be really revitalizing, refreshing, which is an aspect of both these cards in emotional realms, and vitality also of spirit, because remember, this is the one card in the deck that does spirit. So this is how a family-family contrary setup works. And so now let's look at a family-family ally and a family-family